Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, so today we're going to hear from the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
So we're going to hear from the second chapter, text 13. Second chapter, text 13. And it says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dirastatra namuyate. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhisma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering according to one's work in life. So Bhisma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober person. Such a man is never deluded by the changes of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the supreme souls being unchangeable, as confirmed in the Gita. The fragmental portions of the supreme exist eternally. Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal, and are called kshara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of God. The theory of reflection can be applied to the supersoul, who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to living entities, and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spiritual soul is represented by Arjuna, and the supersoul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna, and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusion of Maya, then there's no need of one being the instructor and the other being the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity. Arjuna, who is a forgotten soul, deluded by Maya. Okay, so this is the 13th chapter, text number, first chapter, second chapter, text number 13. So as the embodied soul continually passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Well, just like we see in one lifetime, we have many, many different bodies. You know, the body in the womb of the mother, the body that comes out of the womb, the body when someone is 6 years old, 16 years old, 26 years old, 60 years old. It's constantly changing. And also the body begins microscopically as a little sperm. So it's hard for us to imagine that, but you can't deny it either. We all start out microscopically. And the soul is smaller than the sperm. The soul is actually smaller than an atom. You can't see one atom. You can see maybe when there's 4 or more atoms lumped together, you might be able to see it with your raw eye. But the soul is smaller than an atom, so you can't even see it. And that's how small it is. Whether it's an elephant or a human being or an ant. You might think, well, the elephant's soul has to be bigger because the elephant's much bigger. No, the soul in the elephant is not bigger than the soul in the ant and or the human being. So here we see this is mysterious. It's very, very mysterious. And the soul is so powerful that it can spread consciousness throughout the whole body of the elephants or the ants or the human being. So when a person is alive and you pinch them, they say, ouch. And when a person is dead, you pinch them, they don't say anything. So that means the soul has left the body. And also, the soul, of course, is smaller than an atom. So we cannot see it with the eye, but we can see it's present by consciousness. And so the soul is so powerful that it spreads consciousness throughout the whole body. Okay. Now, obviously, the body is made up of an infinite number of cells. And each cell is a living entity also. Each cell is a living entity also, no? So that means that we are the predominant soul. So every one of us is the master of as many cells that are in the material body, and each cell is an individual. right? And we're the dominant individual. So when we don't manage things nicely, the cells revolt. And the revolt is called cancer. It's a different way of looking at things. So when we manage things properly, because we're managing, probably about, I don't know, how many cells are there in the body? Once you look it up, it runs into the hundreds and thousands, I think, maybe millions. So we have to be conscious that if we don't manage, what's it say?
Between 28 to 37 trillion cells.
Oh, okay. We're in the trillions. Okay. So if we don't manage those trillions of cells in our body properly by eating junk food and exposing ourselves to all kinds of horrible behaviors, illicit sex, and so forth, they revolt. They say, you're not managing us nicely. You're not giving us the right food. You're, doing things that put us in anxiety, etc. And they revolt. And that's cancer and other types of diseases. So we have to be careful. We have to realize we have to manage how many trillions trillions?
Up to 37 trillions. Between 30
to 37 trillion.
Yeah.
30 we have to manage 30 to 37 living entities. Each cell is a living entity.
Trillion.
I'm sorry, 30 trillion living entities. So, some people say, well, I'm just a nobody and, I'm not some big manager. What? You're a manager. Each one of us a manager. 30 billion people or souls, right? 30 trillion people. So we have to understand things correctly. We don't really understand things correctly. We think, oh, that's just my body, But no, each cell, individual soul also. But we are the dominant soul. All right. And this is a wonderful verse. Dehinosmin yata dehi komaranyovaram jara tata dehantara prapti tiras tachanamuyute. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So the word dira means a sober person. We actually understand who is God, who are we as individual souls, what happens at the moment of death. We'll get another body, either a material body or a spiritual body, right? So we have this understanding. We're not confused. Sometimes you go to a funeral and everyone's crying, but there's no reason to cry because the soul is eternal. That's either going to go into another body, material body, because they did not develop Krishna consciousness fully, or it's going to go into a spiritual body. Either way, the person is still alive or still living. Even though we can't see the person who's died because the body disintegrates, but we know that this person is not really dead. Say, and now Hindus will normally cremate the body. The Parsis don't cremate the body. They put it on a high, let's say, pedestal or somewhere outside, and they let the vultures eat it. Did you know that? Look it up. Parsis. They let the vultures eat the body, and the Christians and Muslims, they bury the body. So there's different ways people deal with the dead body.
Parsis or Zoroastrians do in fact leave their dead in a dakma, also called Tower of Silence, to be decomposed naturally by vultures and other scavengers.
There you go. Everybody learned something new today. That's why you have to come to class.
Yeah.
Parsis consider both earth and fire sacred, and dead bodies are said to be nasu, that is unclean. So that's why they don't want to put the dead body, which is unclean, on the clean earth and fire, which are sacred.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it?
Because we keep for cleaning only.
What's that?
We use fire for cleaning.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So you see, the different religions deal with the dead body differently.
Mm.
Say, the Christians and Muslims, they bury the body, and the Parsis, the Zoroastrians,
Yeah.
they leave the body on a high pedestal
Yeah.
outside, and they let the birds and the vultures eat the body.
And
Right?
then in 2012, NPR has an article saying that because the vultures are vanishing, it's a grave matter for the Parsis.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, they should. I mean, they are vanishing all over the world, or just in Iran?
India, Indian Parsis.
Oh, Indian Parsis. Okay. Well, they should ship the dead bodies to the United States. There's a lot of vultures there. Still.
Vulture capital of the vulture capital.
They can start a new business like that. We have vultures. We have two-legged vultures and other types of vultures. Yeah. Okay, so the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, and the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So oftentimes devotees would ask Prabhupada the questions that say, well, what if you, like the soul's in the body, right? But what if the they were trying to, what were they trying to say? What happens if a person, uh, uh, okay, what happens if a person dies? But then there are cases where people die and then they come back alive again. They're dead for like a day or two, and then they come back alive. And that's one thing. There's another thing. There's something else that they were challenging Prabhupada with. I forget now exactly. Anyway, in different religions, they have different ways of dealing with the dead body. Either they bury the body, or like the Parsis, they put the body on a pedestal outside and let the vultures eat it, or they burn the body and throw the ashes in the ocean, or take it to India and throw it in the Ganges River and so forth. There's different ways. And also in India, you'll see whole dead bodies just floating down the Ganges. Sometimes they just throw the body into the Ganges. There are different ways that people deal with the dead body. Some people keep the dead body in their house, sometimes for months and months. Oh yeah, definitely. You can look that up also. Huh?
Africans.
Yeah, maybe Africans, maybe some others also. They think it's the right thing to do. They keep grandfather on the couch.
Yeah, they eat.
Huh?
They eat their grandfather.
They eat sometimes a dead body.
Oh.
What does it say? Yeah. Okay, so in this purport it says, since every living entity is an individual soul, Each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet, yes,
Now, this area of Indonesia, the Toraja
Yeah.
people mummify the bodies of the deceased and care for their preserved bodies as though they are still living.
they keep it in the house.
The Torajan people believe that after death, the soul remains in the house.
See?
So the dead are treated to food, clothing, water, cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
Wow. Well, you can't die anymore from smoking that way. You're already dead.
The custom that many foreigners find shocking, the Toraja people keep their dead relatives at home, feeding and cuddling their bodies. Then, when they are finally buried, they dig them up once a year for a celebration.
Well, before that, they cuddle.
Cuddle.
That means they hug.
You guys want to see a picture of that?
Really?
There is a picture of an old lady.
She's dead.
She's dead, and then there is a family.
The
next.
kids are playing.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Well, you see, there's different cultures and there's different ways of dealing with the dead body. Yeah. Okay. So now, why do Hindus burn the body right away also? You have to do it as soon as possible. Why?
Soul will come back.
Well, if they don't, they believe that if they don't burn the body, the soul will try and linger around the body, right? And we won't
It has
leave.
attachment.
It has
to the
attachment. Yeah.
until it knows that there is nothing it can hang on to.
Well, if you burn it, then it can't be attached anymore. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting what people do with the body. You can see that there are many different things that people do with the body, according to their beliefs. So the strangest thing is they keep it in the house, for a long time, actually, and they cuddle it. Wow, amazing. Well, that means how much they love the body, but the person is not there though. It's just a dead body. So
Greek mummies are there for thousands of years.
Egyptian.
Egyptian mummies, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another way of dealing. Yeah.
They believe that
In afterlife.
Travels.
Afterlife.
Yeah. So when they die, they put them in like some kind of a little building, and they have food and water and everything.
For their afterlife. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
But everything for their afterlife.
that's right. So there's a different conception of what to do with the body. It's interesting. All right. So, and in Krishna consciousness, the reason, like I said, we burn the body is because, well, no, we don't burn all the bodies. The saintly persons, they bury the body and cover it all with sand, so it does not be salt. I mean, and because that way ants or bugs or things don't consume the body. They preserve it like that. That's interesting. Also, it requires a lot of sand, a lot of salt. Okay.
Some people they display in the museum. Like Lenin's dead body was in the museum for a long time.
Mummified?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Ramanujacharya's body, you can see it. It's in Srirangam. On one side of the building, inside, his body is still. Why don't you look that up? His body is still there. And I don't know if they mummified it or they did nothing to it. It's just there. And it's not. It didn't disintegrate. All right, and you can see a picture.
He was the chief the temple for 25 years and made it his headquarters. His body is presently mummified and preserved there. This is a mummified, preserved body of Ramanujacharya in sitting position.
I've seen that.
Then
Did you know that?
Wow.
Learn something new every day. I actually saw him. Yeah, there it is, right?
sitting
Yeah, he's sitting, yeah.
mummified body of
It's a mummified body. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, when I went to Srirangam, I saw his body. I was like, pretty surprised. Let's put it like that. I didn't feel like, it's a ghost or anything like that. It was Ramanujacharya's body. And he was born, 1,000 years ago.
since 1137 CE.
After Christ. Yeah. Yeah, you can, if you want to see Ramanujacharya, just go to Srirangam. You'll be able to see such a great personality. Okay, so, and we said there's some, uh, people that just keep the body in the house. It's dead. And they take care of it also, different ways. I don't know what ways, but different ways. Anything else? Okay.
Three different things today.
Huh?
Three different things. Vultures eat the bodies.
Yes.
Parsis.
Yeah.
And then Indonesian tribe Trojans. Trojans. They basically put the body in the house.
Yeah.
And then they live with that body.
Yeah.
And then Ramanujacharya's mummified body is in Sri
Right. Now you missed a few more. The Africans eat the body. They eat grandfather.
Mexicans are like festival or something like
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Festival of the death of the dead.
So their concept is if you don't think of them,
They'll be
then
forgotten.
they'll be forgotten, and even in their afterlife, they will be not.
They'll
have-
trouble you. Huh?
I think it's like
Like our Pitru.
yeah, it's like Pitraloka. Like if they go into that space,
Yeah.
and then the moment you forget,
Yeah.
their existence disappears.
Uh-huh.
So somebody has to keep remembering them.
Okay.
So that's why they have this Day of the Dead, where
Day
you
of the
remember
Dead.
all your ancestors.
Yeah.
So you keep them alive in that Pitraloka.
What's it called? I forget the
Yeah, there is a name for it.
yeah.
Movie also, right? What was it?
Okay. So what's interesting is the fact that every cell in your body is a living entity. We have, what is it, trillions of cells.
37 trillion.
How many?
30 to 37 trillion.
37 trillion cells. Each one is a living entity. And most people don't think like that, They don't realize. And we have to, sometimes people say, oh, well, I'm not really a prominent person. There are other people, they have some gurus have so many thousands of disciples, and other people, they're famous. But no, every one of us is the let's say the master of how many?
37 trillion.
37 million.
Trillion.
I'm sorry, 37 trillion living entities. We have a big empire.
But mainly it's dying and creating new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more than.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different way of looking at reality. Say.
So when people suicide, Maharaj, those many living entities they're killing along with themselves.
Why do you say killing? They die naturally.
No, when people are suiciding,
Oh, yeah, when it's suiciding, yeah. They're killing all the others.
it's a big thing.
That's why it's a sin. A very big sin. Yeah, see, when you start to read the Shastras, then the whole way you look at life is different. Right. And it's good because now we're understanding the reality, the real thing. Okay, so
Time check. You want
okay, we came to the end. All right. Are there any questions? Any questions?
The soul is said to be blissful in the original state. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What's the state? Uh,
to
yes.
Chidananda Vigraha?
Satchitananda Vigraha.
okay. When we realize the soul, we use our material mind, or how that realization will come.
When what?
When we realize when we want to do the self-realization,
Yeah.
to feel that blissfulness or the Satchidananda state of soul, how can we feel that we need to use our material mind, or is it through realization, or how?
It's through hearing.
Mhm.
Sat means eternal. Chit means knowledgeable. Sachit Ananda means joyful. And Vigraha means body. So that's what our real nature is. But when it gets covered over by Maya, then we unnecessarily suffer due to ignorance. We cover it over with the sense gratification and so forth. Then we don't really realize that our real nature is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, the form of happiness, or bliss, knowledge, and eternity. That's what we really are. So people get confused, very confused.
Yeah, in material world, we need to think of something to get blissfulness or happiness, but for the soul, by default, it is Satchidananda Vigraha. Right.
That's the real nature of the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, why do people become forlorn, upset, angry, frustrated? It's because they're making mistakes in their ignorance, and they engage in, smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, having illicit sex, and so forth. Murdering people every day. You read the newspapers, people are being murdered. So that means that there's a lot of ignorance in this world. And you can't really murder a person. Like, for example, I had a friend of mine, I think I've told you this before. He had a girlfriend, and both he and their girlfriend had mental problems, right? And that's why they became, lovers, because they could understand each other. They both had mental problems, so they could understand each other, right, better. So eventually, though, my friend threw her out, or didn't want to be with her anymore, right? And it devastated her, and she committed suicide. And then she started haunting him after she was dead. She started to haunt him, and it was making him crazy. So out of the blue, he calls me up, and I hadn't talked to him for about, I don't know, maybe almost 50 years. And he said, "Harry, I need your help." I said, "John, we haven't talked in 50 years." He says, "I know, but I need your help." I said, "What kind of help are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I had this girlfriend, and I rejected her, and she committed suicide, and now she's haunting me every day. It's making me go crazy. I said, well, why'd you call me? He said, well, I know that you know what to do. I said, well, how do you know that? You know, 1 second. Haribolata, Hare Krishna. He's okay. I mean, He was haunting, because he had he had some mental problems. She had a mental problem, so they sort of bonded together. And then eventually, he just rejected her, and she was devastated. She committed suicide. And then she came back as a ghost and was haunting him. So he calls me up. He's like a cousin, but I hadn't seen him for 50 years.
Suddenly,
Suddenly he calls me up out of the blue. He said, "I need your help." I said, What do you mean?" I said, "I haven't talked to you in 50 years, John." He said, "No, no, I know you can help me." I said, "I mean, what kind of help you want?" Then he explained, that this girl is haunting him. He said, "Well, how do you know I can help you?" He said, "No, no, I know who you are, so I know you can help me." I said, "Well, didn't you go to other people?" Yeah, he said, "I did. I did go to other people. They're all nonsense." I went to some churches and I went to some, types of voodoo people or something, and they're all nonsense people. So I know who you are, he said, and I know you can help me. I said, all right. So, John, I said, if you really want to, help her also, it's not a question of, you know, getting rid of her. It's you have to help her, and then she'll not, bother you anymore. He said, well, how do I do that? I said, it's pretty easy. You have to cook nice vegetarian food. And he said, but I'm not a vegetarian. I said, I know you're not. I said, but you're going to have to be a vegetarian if you want to get rid of her. I said, you're going to have to cook vegetarian food. Then you have to have a picture of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He said, who's that? I said, he's my guru. And you're going to have a nice picture of Krishna. He said, who's Krishna? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He said, I don't believe in God. I said, you're going to have to believe in God if you want to get rid of her. So, wait a minute. I don't think I forced him to get a picture of Prabhupada, but I definitely said he had that picture of Krishna. So he did everything I said. You have to cook the food, then you have to offer it to Krishna, and then he offers it back to you. Then you have to offer it to your ex-girlfriend. He said, "But why should I have to offer it to her? She's dead." I said, "She's not dead. If she was dead, she wouldn't be haunting you. You understand? So you can't kill the soul. And all this is new to him, right? If he thinks, when you die, that's it, it's finished. There's nothing. No." So I said, "She's not dead. Obviously, she's not dead. She's haunting you. And you have to give her this nice food." So, well, when can I eat it? I said, well, after you satisfy God and this girl, because that's the only way she's going to leave you alone. So anyway, he did it. And after about 3 weeks, he called me and he said, she's gone. I said, well, you're very fortunate. And he said, and he said, I was getting good at this. I actually liked eating it after everybody else had ate it. But then he never called me again. I'll probably have to wait another 50 years. Well, I won't even be here, but, it's strange people. And I told him, John, you should come and stay with me a little bit here in Seattle. Zero. He's an atheist. He was just a little bit of a devotee for a few weeks, and that's it. Yeah, to get rid of the girl. But it's strange that he called. He said, "I know you know what to do," and he hasn't seen me for 50 years, right? Anyway, that's strange things in life. All right. Any other questions? If not, we will end right now for today and pick it up again tomorrow morning at 6:30 in the morning.
Great. Any questions or comments or takeaways from online? Good. Let me see.
Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna. Hare Ram.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo.